Coming up on Verse, Chorus, Verse, a third reminder, everybody. This is all Evil's fault. That's next. Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 202, possibly 203. I would be surprised if it's not a double episode. My name is DL. How are you? I hope you're well. With me is Evil, Punk, and Drublick Jimmy. Surprisingly hard to say. How are you tonight?
That's a good poll. I was curious what you were going to do, but that one works. I like it. I'm good.
I was close to just saying drunk in public, but I was like, people might not get what I'm doing there if I idiots.
Morons. Our listeners are fools.
I feel like I can cheat today because you're wearing sunglasses.
Okay.
I'll be able to see your notes.
Oh, damn it.
I don't have that good a vision.
There.
Oh, I like you have it spaced top and bottom as opposed to side to side. So you get a wide angle.
I do that so I can see. I have notes on either side.
God damn it. I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to learn a little more about Riverside. Evil, how are you?
Well, trying to keep my head above water with all this awesome music from 1994. And 2024 is actually starting to kind of actually not completely suck musically as well. So,
you and I are very much on the same page because we're already working on our third quarter quickfire reviews, and we've been very
that's crazy. What
the fuck is up with 2024? Q3, a different story.
Yeah, all of a sudden there's some interesting stuff.
Yes. I feel like 2024 is slowly being saved, and I'm okay with it.
It's salvageable. But I was ready to write it off.
Yeah, me too. This year it just doesn't stop. 1994 just does not stop.
Can't stop, won't stop.
If I were to ask you right now, just right off the top of your head, is this a better quarter than 1 or 2? What would you say?
Oh, man.
Not an easy question, right?
No, it's not. It's pretty solid.
That is, you're working on your politics. One of the main reasons that I think that this is going to be a two-part episode is because I'm having a very serious, the quality is amazing, but the quantity in this quarter, I feel like a lot of the other quarters had 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 albums. I feel like this quarter has freaking 38 out of 10s.
Yeah, that's why it was hard to answer your question if this quarter's better, because I don't necessarily, well, I shouldn't say that because there's a couple albums here that are just fucking amazing. But we've sung the praises of some pretty solid albums this year so far. Not saying that this quarter doesn't have that. To your point, there's just a lot of really good stuff versus 1 or 2 absolutely great things. I mean, you could make the argument that there's great stuff in here too.
You absolutely could. And it's one of those things that I kept studying and I kept going to my notes and okay, I think I have it figured out. And then I turn an album on again and I'd be like, oh my God, this album is so good. I don't know. I don't know if it's just... But maybe listening to 2024 music with 1994 is just a reminder of how good the music was back then.
It was so good. And do you know what I think this quarter brought out for me more than the other two is the diversity of the music, which the previous 2 quarters had a pretty broad spectrum of stuff, but this quarter's really broad. It's the base is wide on this to build
The base is wide. There is a Sir Mix-a-Lot album in this quarter. I don't even really know how we are going to plot this out as far as Q3. We'll figure it out as we go. I think it's going to be a little bit... I have some ideas of how this episode is, but I think it's just going to kind of end up being whatever and topic we get to is what we get to. But as far as studying, did you catch any differences in this quarter than you did in other ones, or was it just I just have 100 fucking albums I have to try to listen to?
Yeah, it was like doing the quickfire episodes. It's I got so much to get through to try to speak intelligently about. And here's the problem: keeping the previous 2 quarters in context of all of it is I'm spinning so many plates here. Hurts my little
what she said
caveman brain.
No, it's true. That's one of the reasons. Okay, so any of you that listen to our Q2 one, go back and listen to that. But we started with a top 10 that we did together. Evil very wisely gave up after Q1. I was like, this is fucking dumb. Like, what are we doing? And so the Q2 top 10 is essentially just my own list that I give it to Evil, and I'm like, well, what do you think? And Course is like, no, I'm not going to argue any of this. That was our thesis in Q1 was we can't argue anything in this year. There's no, like, what, how do how do you argue the Blue Album versus Super Unknown? It's inarguable. You can't, we could get wasted and be in a bar and just be like, this is why this album's fucking better, man. Like, we could do that.
And we have.
But
that's not for this time.
So Q3 was just more of that. And we're going to talk about as many albums as we can. We're going to talk as many bands as we can. We do have a top 10, but I do have some questions specifically for Jimmy about it, even though it's kind of my top 10. I am going to force him to throw in his 2 cents. Okay. We're going to talk about our favorite songs in Q3, our favorite albums in Q3. After that, we get Q4, which hopefully is a little, you think it's a little bit of a breath of fresh air, but then you have to remember that we also have to recap the whole thing.
Oh my God.
It's fun, right?
Yeah, it is. It actually is.
We got to start talking about these albums.
Yes.
Before we do that, we got to get to the most important part of the night. What are we drinking? Evil, it's Thursday. It's the evening. I am questioning if I'm going to go to work tomorrow. I'm not sure. I might do a little hungover work from home. So I'm definitely imbibing. I made, you can't see it because it's in my very cool Tree Fort cup that I got from Tree Fort, which is awesome.
Right on.
Revivalist gin with tonic, but before I did that, I muddled mint and a couple strawberries with some simple syrup and some lemon, and then just did gin and tonic. So it's kind of like a, I don't know,
strawberry gin julep.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Sounds refreshing.
It's a good summer drink. Very fruity. I'll get a headache. It's worth it. Evil, what about you?
I have a new bottle of scotch.
You like scotch?
Yeah, really? Right. I'm a big fan of portwood finished scotches.
Finish. What is a portwood finish?
Port. Like port casks. Yeah.
Sherry
Instead
cask.
of it like a sherry cask, it's a port cask. Glendronach for you, the Scots who, I don't know when it aired, but when I butchered the difference between the UK, Great Britain.
Oh, we did it together.
Isles. Google has been serving me all kinds of like geography and maps and stuff since then. So
they are very obviously listening. No, I sent you you and Rachel a text the next morning.
Yes.
I was going to get a breakfast burrito, and the first thing I saw when I opened up my Facebook was, here is what the UK is. Here's what the British Isles are. Like, you fucking, what a bunch of pieces of shit.
Yeah, right. Back to Scotland. I'm drinking Glendronach Portwood, which is fucking delicious. Fan of Glendronach and Portwood finished scotches, and this is both of those.
What are the notes?
Yummy.
2 questions. Number 1, are you I want to try a scotch I've never tried, or I want the scotch that I love?
A little of both. I like trying the new things, but I try to stay in sort of my lane when I do that. Like, I know I like Portwood stuff. I like the Glendronach 12 and 15. They're both great, which I think you would like. You're a Macallan fan, so I think you would
Macallan.
like those. Try the Glendronach 12. It's fucking yummy.
I'm down.
I don't dislike any scotch, so it's like hard to.
It's $55. It's not
The Portwood?
No, Glendronach 12.
Yeah, that's. I was like, the Portwood was like 90 or 100.
How dare you? Yeah, no.
That's a reasonably priced bottle of scotch.
That's not bad.
It's really, really good.
Okay.
So it's like comparing it to like Macallan 12, I would say it's a little richer.
Okay.
There's no like notes or anything in that descriptor. It's just it's got a little more. It's a little more interesting to me.
Does it have flavor and does it get you drunk?
Yes.
Those are my prerequisites. Anything else I'm okay with. My follow-up question.
Yes.
When you get a new scotch to try, where are you getting that from? Do you just go to a liquor store and you're like, I've never had that? Or do you research?
Yeah, I know the good liquor stores in Boise. There's 2 of them. Store 101 and Store 102. It's like,
that's where, to all you Boiseans listening, that's where you need to be going. Damn it.
Yeah. Also, there's allegedly going to be a mystery drink delivered to me during this episode. At some point. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But
Eve's certainly taking her sweet ass time.
yeah, I know.
In her defense, she had surgery today.
She had oral surgery today, but she wanted to make me a drink for the podcast.
If you don't love that, you don't have a heart, right?
Right?
Yeah.
I know.
Kids, man. Fucking kids. It's weird. It's weird how much we like those little fuckers.
I know.
God, they're fuckers. All right, everybody. 1994 Q3. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Wanna see it now.
In 1994, what we got to do, Q3, before we get into this, before we bust our nut, foreshadowing, is we got to do the friendship test.
Yeah.
We got to guess what each other's favorite album from Q3 is. I will go first because I already kind of spoiled it. I'll tell you, and you can't remark to any of this, but I'm trying to decide between two albums.
Okay.
And the two albums are Bustin' Up by Tesla.
Yes.
Or Burn My Eyes by Machine Head, which was their debut album.
You had the slowest pitch, but whatever.
The what?
Keep going.
What does that mean?
Continue.
Oh, I see. I get what you're saying. But I think that I am going to go with, I feel like you as a dude, you just seem like the type, and I've had a couple conversations with you for them, that you would ride hard for Tesla. Because Tesla, I do think Tesla is one of the most underrated rock bands ever.
Yeah.
I know that you're in that camp, so I could see you pitching them hard. But I am going to go with Burn My Eyes by Machine Head because it has that. There's another album we're going to talk about in this, I'm sure too, that it has this early 90s metal, like a pre-Mortal Kombat soundtracky feel.
Yes. That's amazing. Great take. Oh.
That is, I'm going Burn My Eyes by Machine Head.
Those are both fucking killer albums. So
Evil, what do you think my favorite is from this one?
I thought that both of our picks were going to be obvious. Now I'm very unsure. I thought.
Fuck. I know. God damn it. Okay, I'm staying with it, but I know what. So Jesus Christ.
I mean, I'm just like, it's clearly Dave Matthews Band. Clearly the Dave Matthews Band debut. I could be completely off base because you came at me with some picks that I was not expecting you to pick for me.
It is a very good guess. I have thoughts, obviously, on Dave Matthews Band's debut studio album, Under the Table and Dreaming. We already really kind of talked about our overall thoughts of Q3, and it's all kind of the same shit that we've been talking about forever. So I'm just going to go down the list of questions we usually ask and then go from there. Perfect. We might even end up just, talking about the fucking random albums. I don't know how this is going to go, but I want to start with breakout albums or artists that came from this quarter. Do you have any specifics?
I do. For breakout, it feels like it's cheating because it's sold 7 million copies and it's Oasis' debut.
Yeah.
It feels like cheating, but
do we have the Oasis talk now? I guess maybe let's do half of an Oasis talk now.
Okay.
Here's the thing. Definitely Maybe is not my bag.
Right.
And not just because I don't know. I didn't like it when it first came out. I just wasn't interested. You don't strike me as the type that would have been either. No. And I don't know if it was just amplified because of how just fucking douchey the guys were at all times. And not just like all rock stars are douchey, but they're douchey in the fucking worst way possible.
Yes. Which is wildly entertaining, it turns out.
Actually, they do seem a little bit up your alley. Like as far as their personalities.
Yep. Don't care for their music, but I like them as people.
I mean, that is a good pick. There's going to be more to talk about with Definitely Maybe later. I have two, and the first one is kind of an easy one. Actually, no, the first one is wrong. I'm looking at what I put down, and it's not right. I had the debut album of Prodigy, which to me is exactly... All of us found Prodigy through Fat of the Land.
Yes.
Which was their second album that came out. This album is such a fucking exact... If you listen to Fat of the Land and thought, that's Prodigy. What does their first album sound like? This is exactly what you would think their first album would sound like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's very Euro in the 90s,
Yes.
fucking digital
Yeah.
hip hop. Not hip hop, house. Sorry, whatever. But that wasn't their breakout. So that was a stupid. I don't know why I put that there. But my other one, which is a good one, is the debut album of Elliott Smith. So what's his name? Bon Iver. That kind of, the guys of our generation and the generation after, we are in it's all about technology. It's all about video games. It's all about computers and shit like that. Well, there's a specific part of our brains that are just desperate to go back to fucking the wilderness and the simplicity. And we want, fire and stick and that sort of fucking thing. Well, his music kind of was that. He was like the first one that just made, look, I want a shitty acoustic guitar and I'm going to write these amazing songs. I'm going to be super, super serious about it. That was an album that a lot of dude artists clung to, I guess. That's my breakout. Yeah. What about Height of Power, Evil? Do you have any Height of Power?
I have thoughts because for breakout, I could have picked so many things for breakout. We could have picked Portishead.
There's a shit ton of debut. Yes.
They did not expect that album to do what it did, and it blew the fuck up. And we've talked about that a bunch. I could pick Toadies.
Yeah.
As like an underground fun, very 90s band.
Sure could.
Also in that vein, I could have picked Verge Salt.
God fucking damn, man.
I could even go as far. No, I'm not going to do that. Hold on. I'm going to hold that, put a pin back in there. Do I just go to Height of Power? This is stupid. You're going to hate this answer.
All the breakouts you just mentioned are better than mine.
Well, my Height of Power is going to disappoint you greatly.
No, mine's going to disappoint you greatly. What
really?
Yeah, let's do it together.
Well, I said that Oasis was the breakout because they sold 7, but they still sold 7 million albums. My Height of Power is Diamond, like 10 times platinum. And that's Hootie and the fucking Blowfish, which was goddamn everywhere. And it could have been the breakout too. I mean, it's both. Really. It's probably the best answer for both.
So no spoilers, but I fucking hate Hootie and the Blowfish. I don't hate them as like I like what's the lead singer's name? Darius Rucker.
Yeah.
I think he's a great dude. And like I used to listen to the Dan Patrick Show in the mornings, and he was a regular on there, and he's such a fucking cool dude. I mean,
right. Yeah.
He's a fucking black singer in country music. Like back when back in the 90s, like that wasn't a thing.
And a rare breed back then.
Yeah, yes. I like the guys. I just hated that fucking album. But that is the first CD I ever owned because it was given to me on Christmas.
Wow.
So that tells you, I mean, everybody owned that fucking album.
Yes. It's huge.
I never listened to that album, and I could probably draw you the fucking cover. Yeah. Because everybody had that fucking album. But really, guys, like, hold my hand. Show me. I don't know.
I listened to it and I'm like, it's kind of triumphant. It's you know what? If that album and that song didn't just fucking blast off into the stratosphere, and we hadn't heard it in 30 years, and turned it on and be like, you know what? That was pretty good. But it was so fucking everywhere. It saturated everything to the point to where it's like, please just fucking take them away.
Here's what I think.
I had some member berries with it. I had a little bit of member berries with it.
I think that you can have full respect for it because in a world and a time in music where the only cool thing was cynicism, they were like, no, fuck that. We're going to, like, our drummer is going to be smiling while he's playing, and Darius Rucker is going to be singing about about being a Miami Dolphins fan. I have to respect it. I totally have to respect it. They absolutely flew in the face of what was cool. And they were like, fuck it. We're just straight up very basic Americana. And you fuckers are all going to buy
fucking
it.
Rich. Selling albums.
Yes. No, that's the right answer. You're beating me. My Height of Powers, my one that I want, my DL pick is Dinosaur Jr., I think like Dinosaur Jr. has been kind of cult following forever, but this was the one album that in the MTV time where they would actually do videos for like fucking Built to Spill and Dinosaur Jr. and bands like that.
Yeah.
And I remember liking Dinosaur Jr. and this being the first time that I was like, holy fuck, this guy knows Dinosaur. You know, like other people know who that is too. I'm not as cool as I thought I was.
Not just Matt Pinfield on 120 Minutes.
Yes.
I would stay up on Sunday nights to watch that shit, man.
But my answer, and honestly, it's kind of the right answer. You love them, I love them, Evil. It's Boys to Men. ABC BBD. Boys to Men 2 album came out, and look, not only did everybody own it, but when the fuck has that ever a fucking like 4-man R&B? It wasn't just them, but they were selling themselves as almost like a fucking barbershop quartet.
Yeah.
In no world should that have worked in 94.
Answer.
And they fucking crushed it. They crushed it. Everybody was buying them and seeing them. Boys to Men and Hootie and the Boyfish. Hootie and the Boyfish. Those are really good answers, actually. I think I'm very happy with those.
Growing up, being in like choir and singing different choral arrangements, there was a shitload of Boys to Men stuff that we did.
Some of the stuff that they did, and this is post Motown Philly, which everybody listened to all the time, but some of the songs on that album that I'm not off the top of my head, I can't, like Water Runs Dry, and I don't remember what else was on that, but was that I'll Make Love to You?
Yeah, it was.
Those songs were fucking everywhere, enormous. All the time.
Yeah, they were very, very
like
big.
MTV 3 times an hour all the time.
Yeah.
I have a lot on this one. Albums that have aged well or poorly.
Yeah. The albums that aged well for me, a lot of them are things that I found later. And
later, like while you're studying, or later just like when you were 28 or something like that?
Both.
Okay.
Both, actually. Machine Head's one of them.
I think you might have a present coming.
Oh, wait, hold on here. We have...
Oh, wow.
Hi. Thank you. What is it?
Drink it.
It's gin.
I'm going to narrate while this is happening. So Evil has just been brought a drink by Eve. It looks amazing. It looks very American. It's red. It's white and blue. Eve had oral surgery today, but she's champing through.
You gotta mix it up a little bit more.
Hi. He's trying to figure out what the flavor is. Definitely gin in it. He's drank half of it trying to figure it out.
But
You're not supposed to be able to see the purple on the top.
You're supposed to be able to see the purple on the top. I heard that.
Thank you.
Well, if that wasn't one of the more
that's good.
adorable things that I've ever seen, I don't even know what. Evil and Eve. What was the drink?
They couldn't remember what it's named, but it's got gin, lemon juice, muddled raspberries, which are amazing, and blackberries. Yeah, blackberries.
Is it like a bramble?
I don't know. I think it might be a bramble. I think it might be.
I mean, it's amazing. And people, when I tell you, fucking,
it's beautiful too.
Yeah, for the way she brought it in, she had the red on the bottom, she had the kind of purplish on the top. She had the blackberries all set up. Man, what a gal. What a lucky fucker this guy is.
I really am. I like my family quite a bit.
You should probably marry that girl, dude.
Yeah, well, not Eve. That's fucking messed up. Her mom, though.
For those of you listening for the first time, I meant her mom. I will start while Evil tastes his delicious beverage. My first one, did it age poorly or well? One of the albums that I have to bring up, because every year that we dissect Evil, this band has a fucking album that comes out. That band is the Rolling Stones, and this album is the Voodoo Lounge.
Yes, Voodoo Lounge.
And now it's time for DL to shit on the Stones. I actually think that this is their best later years album.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure it out, and I was listening to it just like a few days ago, and you know what it is? It feels like for an album, they accepted that they were just old dudes that wanted to play old dude rock for an album. It sounds like more of a fucking older man Americana album. I dug it. I was like, dude.
100%.
Yeah. I think it's a really fucking good album, actually. So Stones fans,
it's not bad.
Hey, it aged well for me. Good job, Rolling Stones and the Voodoo Lounge. I mean, I think I was a few songs in. I was like, I might buy this album. Like, it's pretty cool. I might own 2 Rolling Stone albums, Evil.
That is a little weird.
What about you? Do you have one?
That aged well. Yes. So I mentioned that I didn't really get into Burn My Eyes until probably 96, 97-ish. So a few years later.
Okay.
I was still cultivating my metal tastes at this point. So that's a pretty heavy album, you know?
Oh, it is. Totally.
At the Gates album, I didn't find until fucking 2000s. Amazing. I love At the Gates. Those aged well. An album that I didn't know aged well for me, and this is really thanks to you for us talking about it, is the Tesla album.
Oh, really?
It's so, I don't think I've listened to that thing in 20 years. Honestly. Because I love the band, and I like mostly listen to like the classic stuff.
Yeah.
You know, Little Susie's on the Up, that kind of stuff. But I
can't even say the names of the albums, but I know I know what the albums look like. You know, like the little kid listening to the I know exactly what you're saying.
So that has aged really well for me. There's like nostalgia points for stuff like Veruca Salt, the Toadies. Those are things that I've just, I don't know if I've just always liked that, but it's very 90s music for me.
That's one of the things I was going to ask you, because, and we hit on this in Q1 with the Meat Puppets. Mm-hmm. I feel like that Meat Puppets album is very, very of 94.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you feel the same way about, actually the one that I singled out was Rubberneck, the Toadies album.
Oh yeah. It's like, that is a time capsule. Like,
yes.
100% a time capsule.
In a good way.
Yeah, in an absolutely good way. An album that I don't know if this is fair to say that it hasn't aged well, or are we moving on to that at this point? The 311 album, Grassroots.
Oh. I'll be honest, I didn't even listen to it because I feel like the reason that I didn't even listen to it is because I know it. Actually, fuck. Okay. You keep talking because I need to gather my thoughts on this.
I wasn't aware of it in 94. I wasn't aware of it until their next album came out, which like blew up. And then I went back and bought this one. I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. And then I listened to, that's another one I haven't listened to in 20 plus years. And I put it on. I'm like, okay, all right. No, I don't need that anymore. It sounds like a band that's still cooking. And very, very dated.
311 in general is very dated.
Yeah.
But I'm going through something right now. Because I will be honest, I didn't even... Okay, this is kind of one of the points of the podcast. And this is why I do like the 10 out of 10s and stuff, is because I had my 311 stuff figured out. I was a huge 311 fan. Mm-hmm. And I loved the album that was big.
Yeah.
But then the next album with like Transistor on it, that was it. I listened to that album all the fucking time. Mm-hmm. I loved it. But I had just blown off Grassroots, but now I'm listening to it. I could probably play every one of these songs on the guitar.
Yeah.
I forgot that I listened to this album all the fucking time. So I'm having
You're having a moment?
I don't know what to do with it. God damn, the instrumentation is so fucking good though.
They are, yes. The bass lines are nuts.
And the drummer.
Yep.
God, they're good. You're right, though. This is...
it's not quite cooked yet.
It's so of the times.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's... you know what it feels to me? It doesn't even feel like 94. It feels like pre-94. It feels like early 90s working some shit out. Like, it's not...
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, for me, it is crazy going back and listening for this quarter. Yeah. How poorly Marilyn Manson's album from 94 is aged.
Yeah.
And I'm not like, I don't give a fuck about his personal life or whatever. In fact, I think, like, I don't know, but I think didn't all the stuff that was said about him, like, proven to not be true or something like that?
I don't know about proven, but it's definitely walked back quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, look, here's the thing about the accusations against him, which were terrible. If I'm remembering correctly, there, at least some of it was, he was not charged with anything. He wasn't. At least a little bit of it was kind of proven to be bullshit. Yeah. I think. So sorry listeners, if I'm wrong, let me know. But I read his book when I was like 17 or 16, whenever it came out. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of you and I's generation struggle with some of this stuff, is like, did you people not know who this fucking guy was before this shit that people were talking about him. Like some of the shit in his book, fucking heinous shit. Not just what the band did, but what like fucking groupies were asking them to do to them. It's weird as fuck.
People are weird,
But
man.
People are weird. Anyway, point being that I actually really, really love a lot of Marilyn Manson's discography. I'm sure at some point we'll talk about his couple albums after this one, but this album fucking sucks, dude, in my humble opinion. Did you listen to it at all for this?
No.
Are you not a Marilyn Manson guy?
I don't dislike him, but I'm not like a huge fan.
What is it about? Is the music too techno?
I don't like industrial type stuff. It's not my bag. I like his next album I do enjoy, but I'm not like a
Evil does not like Marilyn Manson. We just learned.
No. I don't. That's mischaracterization
Oversimplification.
of things. It's not my jam, but I do like some of the stuff that he does.
What about like The Beautiful People though?
Yeah, I like that.
That song rocks fucking
Yes.
hard. He likes when people rock. I know that about him.
Yeah.
Another thing that I have to do, and that you're never going to hear again, you might hear one more time in your life on this podcast, but is a rarity, is I am going to say something somewhat maybe a little bit negative about Prince.
Yeah.
Look, one of the amazing things about Prince, one of the things that makes Prince one of the greatest artists ever, is he was always able to work within the time and fit in the time, but somehow seemed ahead of the time. If that makes any sense. The album that he came out with in this year called Come, it's the only time I could say that he sounded a little bit like he was trying to be in the time too much. It was like this weird Sade kind of,
Yeah.
it's like one of his two albums that I don't really care to own. That is saying a lot about Prince, who I have just always worshipped.
Is this in the era where he was contractually obligated to like just record music?
Yes.
So he's just like gonna phone it in.
Yes. This is like his passion shit was very random. Like besides this was after the Batman soundtrack,
Which I fucking love, and a lot of people
Yeah,
don't
amazing.
like, but it's awesome because it's so weird.
but it was a weird time for Prince because he would do amazing shit followed by, like you just said, shit that felt like he didn't have passion for. Like he was just coming out with something.
Yeah.
Do you have any other poorly or well aged?
Oh yeah. Okay. I want to rewind. I have to go back to, I missed something in Q2.
Oh,
So there was an album, and I'm like really confused by it because researching it like popped into my head a few days ago. I'm like, when was that album released? And it allegedly came out in June. I thought it came out before. So this is an Aussie band. It's not great. It's like a clone of a clone of a clone of AC/DC. It's an Aussie band called The Poor, and they have an album called Who Cares that I fucking loved back then. And I thought in my brain, my memory, I got that album on a trip to San Francisco in the spring when my madrigal choir went down and toured San Francisco. We sang the national anthem at a Giants game. It was a fucking awesome experience. In my head, I bought that album then, but if it came out in June, that's not possible. So I don't know if maybe it came out in Australia early and somehow San Francisco had it and I
Very
got it there.
possible.
Or I'm just old and my memory's fucking dog shit at this point.
also possible.
Both could be very true. But I really like that album. It has not aged very well. It's very nostalgia. I do like it.
Have you noticed how many 94 albums Spotify says 1993 on it?
Finding the actual release dates is difficult.
Spotify is fucked.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the major problems with Spotify is they count the like re-releases. So you'll see like, oh, this album absolutely did not come out in 2010.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just want to bring up one other thing that Spotify sucks about.
Accuracy.
It's yes. So what you were just talking about speaks a little bit to kind of listening at the time versus now.
Yeah.
What was getting a lot of play versus what is getting a lot of play now. Anything that you were listening to nonstop back then?
Okay. Not in this. Well, September counts because that's part of the quarter. American Thighs was, I have very like burned in my brain memories of my first college dorm room and that album. Just like that is like the soundtrack of that transitioning from high school to college.
Such a good college album.
Oh my God.
To be in college when that album came out, fuck.
And I was like super into comic books at the time, and the Spider-Man song on there, and it's
best song on the album,
dude.
It's so good.
I'm like like girls singing about Spider-Man. How awesome is it? And it's good music, and it fucking rocks. It's just like
So Rachel and I did an episode about that.
Yeah.
In this year, and what blew me away when I went back to listening to it a bunch this year, what I didn't really, and I'm going to plant this flag, and it's going to be something that I repeat a lot in this podcast. I feel that American Thighs is the last great grunge album. If you go back and you listen to it, it is so fucking grunge. It is as grunge as you can possibly get. It is dirty, and it is swampy, and it is slow, and it's fucking, people call it one of the lost albums of the 90s. Because people don't talk about it. I think
not
it's
for me.
Like
it was
grunge
dude.
album.
I was never lost for me.
It's so good.
Yeah,
it's so fucking good. Now I just want to listen to that.
Fucking, this isn't exactly a big secret. The other album that kind of along with American Thighs, same time frame. Remember the dorm room. I remember it is Corrosion of Conformity's.
Okay,
Deliverance.
there it is.
That was an album where. So okay, let me rewind to that era. So I was a freshman coming into the dorm, and there were a couple of older guys. One was a junior, one was a senior. They were like definitely metalheads. Like one of them was the guy who kind of got me into In Flames later on. Another was like, so he showed me Sepultura for the first time. I'm just like, ah. And I remember I remember introducing Prong to them. And they're like, oh, this is really good. This kid actually likes good music. Finding Corrosion of Conformity was like, I just found something that no one else here listens to and is really fucking cool. And I got to introduce it to them, and they're like, this is good shit. And so that was that was like a pivotal moment for me. The formulation of my heavier tastes in music.
So the Corrosion of Conformity I didn't get into until this year. And not just because you brought a song to one of the episodes that we talked about. We did a song from that album, but we've been studying for 1994. We've been doing this all year, people. Hopefully you've been paying attention, but that fucking Corrosion of Conformity album pops up everywhere.
Yeah. All
of the like albums that should have been bigger and albums, like underrated albums from 94, that album's everywhere.
Yep.
And it's very obvious, right, when you listen to it, why.
Yeah.
And it's not even so much like, I'm not saying it's not an amazing album. It's really good, but the little things that you can hear on that people weren't doing that yet.
Yep.
Like rock bands were not doing certain things that you would end up hearing in the, in like 97 and 98.
Yep.
They were doing them first. Like Corrosion of Conformity was way the fuck it's way more ahead of the time than it sounds when you listen to it.
Yeah, I agree. 100% I agree. I was going to say that this could have been a breakout album, but I think that probably was their previous album for them. The one with Vote for a Bullet was probably their breakout. This is
what a fucking name for an album.
Yeah.
It's so good. Listening to at the time, American Thighs right up there with me too. Listen to it all the fucking time. The big one, though, for me, and we may talk about it later, we may not, the album that I think, we'll call it the album that you probably had to buy a second one award because you listened to it so much that it wore it out, was 4 by Blues Traveler.
Yeah.
This was like right when I was starting to figure out that musicianship, Under the Table and Dreaming, 4, those sort of albums, when I was figuring out that you could hear musicianship in music, I was just starting to learn how to play guitar well. And I was able to point like, oh, this guy's a good musician.
Right.
And here's a question for you, Evil. In modern music, modern-ish music, has anybody mastered their instrument the way that John Popper has mastered his?
Oh, my God. Okay, here's the difference. Today, you can go on YouTube and take lessons and play something exactly like whoever your rock star du jour did. And so you sound just like that fucking person. You don't develop your own voice.
There's the butt.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like that fucker had a bandolier of harmonicas. Like, what the fuck, man?
And every song, his soul was just fucking.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just
Yes.
that he was insane, because he could shred like nothing. It's the Eddie Van Halen effect.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, sure, the guy can shred. That's great. But it's not about shredding. It's about
No.
you watch him and you just see it's the Stevie Ray Vaughan. Like, his soul is just pouring out.
And they're good songs. It's not just a clinic on playing an instrument, you know. It's like in the context of well-written popular music. Not even
Yes.
like obscure like jazz. You have to have an IQ of whatever to actually understand it and be into music. You know, it's like shit that everybody dug at the time.
God, it's such a good album.
Yeah, it is.
Look, I don't listen to it as much now, but you know why? It's because I don't own the vinyl. But you know what? It's coming. They're supposed to start shipping end of July. It finally, that was like one of my top 3 holy grails, and it is reissued, motherfuckers. You can still buy it.
They played here when we were up in Canada, and I was super bummed. They played at the Botanical Gardens when we
Oh,
were-
that would be so good.
Yeah, at Outlaw Field.
Have you seen the YouTube of Blues Traveler playing Hook at Howard Stern's birthday?
Yes, that's so good.
When it ends and Howard Stern is like, he doesn't do it. You know, Howard Stern's a dick, but when that ends, Howard Stern is like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Let's go to, were there any albums or like hidden gems?
Yes.
Or
Probably not underrated to those who were familiar with the band at the time, but something that I found, and this is like prejudgment bias here. I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to listen to that. And then I put it on. I'm like, this is nothing like I thought what it was going to be.
I'm intrigued.
And it's the Soul Coughing album. You have thoughts there?
I don't know if I'm allowed to talk. Okay. Yes. So I'm not going to spoil too much.
Don't.
I will say this. If you are a person that has never really gotten super into soul coughing and you go to Ruby Vroom and you just start the album on Is Chicago Is Not Chicago, if you don't feel your ass getting kicked for at least like 30 seconds, you don't give a shit about music.
Yeah, that is a you just narrated my life about 3 days ago.
His kind of croaky-ish voice,
Dude.
fucking upright bass,
Yeah.
clacking of the drum on the, I think it's probably the hi-hat stand, and him singing A Man Drives a Plane into the Chrysler Building. We were talking about what bands, like who the fuck sounded anything like this?
Nope. That
No, you've made me very happy.
I mean, there are bands that I knew were. I'm not a huge Ween fan, but I am familiar with Chocolate and Cheese, and so I knew what to expect going back and listening to that again. I'm like, I know this is going to be a wild ride, and these guys are
Yes.
amazing, and it's fucking all over the place. This one just not even close to what my mental picture / memory of it was. I think I was maybe thinking of a completely different band.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know who it is. So I started listening to this. I'm like, what the fuck? I get to like song 4. I get to like Blue Eyed Devil. And I'm like, this shit kind of slaps. I'm into it. And I need way more time with this to talk about it intelligently. So it immediately went into the hidden gems.
That makes me so happy. Yeah, Soul Coughing they're one of those bands that, you know, like when somebody brings up in a conversation, I will try to sell them as hard as I possibly fucking can. The unfortunate album that I feel like there is a band out there. Offspring Smash came out in 94.
Yeah.
Amazing album.
Yeah.
What we found out later was that Offspring maybe was a little bit fake as far as punk is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
But there's an album called Friendly People by a band Guttermouth.
Oh,
That
yeah.
if you all just go listen to that was like, if you want to go hear, okay, what were the real guys that were kind of making the Smashes type music?
Mm-hmm.
That's Guttermouth. That's Friendly People. And then the only other one I have, and it wasn't necessarily underrated. I think it was an 80s artist that came out with something that was amazing in the 90s. So not too many people spout how amazing it was or whatever you want to say. But one of my favorite live albums ever, top 5 for sure, came out in 94, which is Secret World by Peter Gabriel. The perfect live album.
Yeah.
It's so fucking good. I don't think Peter Gabriel was still crushing it absolutely crushing it, but he wasn't getting talked about because he was 80.
Sure.
Like Peter Gabriel's 80s. When you think Peter Gabriel, it's God, that live album.
It is very, very, very good. I have one more. This is a band that I am, if anyone's listened to the podcast and we brought up this band, it's a band that I shit on just because I know that they are good musicians. I get that.
Okay.
Fucking hate their music because I'm happy. I'm filled with testosterone and I live a triumphant life. And that is REM.
Oh, okay.
This year they released the one album. Now I actually kind of like Green. There's some stuff
Green's
on there I like
amazing.
too. But Monster is like the one. It's the REM album that I can fuck with. I'm like, I kind of like this album.
Monster fucking rocks. Monster is
Yeah.
fantastic. I feel like Monster was written off, not written off, but REM fans kind of saw it as almost like a side act or like a,
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking, I think it's their, oh God, as the juxtaposition between those of us that hate REM and Evil and those of us that love them like me. I'd love to say that it's one of my top 3 REM albums. I don't know. I really love REM, but yeah, Monster is a fucking fantastic.
I have a top 2 REM albums. It'd be number 1 is Monster, and like at the bottom is Green, and that's number 2.
Green's amazing.
Everything else, I just can't.
The only other one that I want to say for hidden gems, I already talked about him, but I have to keep banging the drum for this album because especially going back after studying for this, Elliott Smith's fucking first album, Roman Candle, his next 2 get talked about 99% of the time, but holy fuck, this album is so fucking good. As an older person now, I would recommend going back and listening to it. It's amazing. Maybe not you because, it's not triumphant. He's a very depressed man. He proved it later on.
I felt like everything that was, in the zeitgeist I was familiar with.
Yeah.
Now
Evil, that's okay because I have a whole conversation to start. This is when half the listeners turn this off. Listening
I know where this is going.
to this album,
Yeah.
I get the greatness. I do.
Yeah.
Some of the songs on it I really, really fucking like.
Yeah.
But
People are going to scream at us for this because I'm with you.
I don't know. I don't know if you're there's 2 albums. I don't know if you might be thinking of another one, but there is an album that did not do well in 94 that just ended up getting massively, thanks to post reviews and people realizing, wait a minute, this is brilliant. And now it's top 10 94 albums. What are your thoughts on Grace by Jeff Buckley?
We are talking about the exact same thing.
Okay. This is a very dangerous album for us to be talking about because so many people worship this goddamn album. And I will say, as much as I can see the brilliance, I don't get the obsession with this album.
I do. It's the story. It's because coming off the heels of like a rock god like killing himself earlier in the year.
So you mean the story of him drowning?
No, I'm talking about Cobain.
Oh, okay,
so
okay.
We had already been kind of like groomed, but just like culturally conditioned to put a rock idol up on a pedestal when they pass away. I think maybe this is an echo of that a little bit.
Gotcha.
No, I don't think Jeff Buckley, I don't think he killed himself, but he
drowned.
Tragically drowned.
No, I think he was just trying to take a swim, but didn't understand that rivers are not a fucking joke. But that's a good fucking, because his sales did not do well until after he died.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So I think we, as a culture, we're conditioned to like put upon a pedestal these martyrs, these musical martyrs. I think it's a great album. It
is.
Walk It Back. It's a very good album with genius on it. I don't know if it's a great album or not.
The structure of these songs are fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And like the choices of, it was a refreshing album of the time because the choices were so different. And in a world of A chord, B chord, G chord, verse, chorus, verse, he was doing jazzy shit. I don't know. It's good and it's pretty. And
it's very pretty.
I might hold some against it because I just don't, what I hold against it that might be like 50% of it. There are songs that I just don't get and I don't like being remade. And Hallelujah, so many people loved Jeff Buckley's Hallelujah, but why would you? It's already the perfect song. Why fuck with it? That's my opinion. Do I have to edit that out? I mean,
No.
Like, fuck you guys. It's Leonard Cohen.
Let me push back.
Okay.
Because I don't think it's about his version of the song as much as it's about his performance of the song.
Okay.
And his performance of the song is fucking out of this
It's
world.
great. But you know what I want to hear more? I want to hear Leonard Cohen do it.
Of course.
But and just to be like, this is a great album, people. And I'm not songs like Last Goodbye and what's is it Eternal Life that's on the more minor one towards the end. Like there are great songs.
Amazing
It's
songs.
a great album, but people talk about this like it's immortal top 10 greatest album of all time. This is just me admitting that I've never really understood that. Not judging anybody for it, but I've just never really understood it.
So when we were looking at the year as a whole, and I'm like, how many 10 out of 10 albums are on this year? And this was one that I was just like, for sure, it's one of those 10 out of 10 albums. And I think I'll get there. I think I just had subscribed to that thinking. The legend continues sort of thing. And I actually thought about this quite a bit. I'd been thinking about this album the whole year. And when I sat down to really think about this episode, this quarter, that's when I'm like, okay, why? Because I listened to it and I'm like, maybe what? Okay, hold on. Yes, there is greatness. Yes, it's a beautiful album. It's very well performed. That's the thing, is it's very, very, very well performed. I think he needed another album or two to cook before he was going to be absolute greatness. And I think he was going to get there.
Yeah.
So stepping back, looking at the year as a whole, the Cobain thing popped into my head. And I'm like, that I think it's like a bookend. It's like this was like post grunge. It was like alt rock, some new sort of alt rock thing ushering in, because grunge was basically done. Like, to your point, American Thie's last great grunge album.
Yeah.
Grunge died earlier in the year with Kurt Cobain. This was supposed to be the next thing. And then he tragically dies. I think just mentally,
and people cling on to it. I think you're right.
He just goes right up next to Kurt on the pedestal.
They want
martyrs.
American tragedy. I think there's something to it.
I don't want to take that away from anybody, but I think that's kind of what's going on.
We've pissed at least 50% of the people listening to this off. One fun episode we could eventually start doing, one type of episode, is if you as listeners get pissed off because we say something about an album, we can have an episode where you come on and you're like, look, this is why this album is amazing. And you listen to the pod, we're receptive to that sort of shit. We might never agree with you, but we're very receptive to it.
I might secretly hate you for the rest of my life, but
yeah, we'll get off the recording and be like, this fucking idiot. But like one or two things to do. We got to get to episode 2. It's weird. It looks like it is going to be a double episode. Who saw that coming?
Wow.
Evil, do you have any sort of theme songs from the year? Or anything like that.
Yes.
Songs you can always go back to.
Well, oh man. I was going to make the joke about Hold My Hand is the theme song of the year. Hootie and the Blowfish. But, and this timing wise, this is awkward because we just talked about this and we haven't really, we've talked about some albums, but we haven't talked about how broad the musical base is this year. And we've covered this before. We started covering this in one of the first episodes I was on way back in the day, talking about 97 and like the convergence of music to like a few different radio station playlists or formats. That was your first
episode, by the way.
Was that my first one? I thought Korn was my first one.
Anyway, no, you're right. Yes.
My theme song is what we just talked about. It's Last Goodbye. It's a goodbye to this era of music.
I love it. Mine, and we'll get into this maybe later, but at this point, I'm very young. At that age, you start to yearn for meaning, clinging on to things like Lane Staley and people that were trying to say something. I could pick any fucking song from Stranger Than Fiction by Bad Religion, because when I first heard that, I just it was just an absolute punch directly to the jaw.
Yeah.
There is a chorus to a song called Marked in Stranger Than Fiction where he's saying like everything you see leaves a mark on your soul, everything you hear leaves a mark on your soul. That chorus, as a fucking very young person, ass so bad. And I feel like there's a part of me that chorus has just been ringing in my ears ever since.
I love that.
Silly, cool, endearing punk that sears itself into your brain and kind of affects your life a lot.
That's, I think, one of the best punk albums ever.
More on that later. I think we basically, do you have any worst albums of the year? This is always kind of an easy one because it's whatever weird fucking band did weird fucking things.
There was a lot of weird shit released.
There was a lot of weird shit.
Yeah.
Fucking Alice Cooper's Last Temptation is a weird fucking album.
That's a weird album.
It's
going back to like the breadth of different types of artists. Like Kylie Minogue released an album this year. Amy Grant released an album this year.
Good old Amy Grant.
Debrat had a debut. We'll talk more about debuts at some point.
Debrat.
I mean, there's just some shit that like I have not
Usher's debut.
Usher's debut was this year. I'm not saying that these are all bad. It's just like what a fucking weird, what a weird, odd collection of music.
For real.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
Love and Rockets. God damn. See, I'm still finding fucking, Toby Keith was around in 94? Jesus Christ. Guys, it's never ending research. It's like never going to fucking end.
Massive Attack. There Might Be Giants. You know, Brooks and Dunn. I mean, Jesus Christ. Bjork. There's a remix Bjork album.
I've got some Massive Attack to talk about later.
Ooh, good.
Bjork, I think, was just like a remix album.
Yeah, it was a remix.
Guys, we're gonna see on Thursday. We got another whole episode of this to
fucking
do. We gotta talk
Delight.
about
Delight.
Rose in the high. We got 5 favorite songs. Stay tuned to find out if that's one of them. What's that fucking weird flute called? I
don't know. That was an earlier album, but fuck, they put out something in '94.
Oh, that's not even. That's not even this. That doesn't even have the song on it.
That was like early '90s. Reverend Horton Heat released an album this year. Jesus.
We got to talk about 5 best albums. We got to do our top 10. We love you guys. Stay tuned. Come back Thursday. Good night and good luck.
Stay right by your side, 'cause you and me, we fit together naturally.